Boom, run. All right, so this is going to be slope-intercept form, right? The form we're going to start using, although I'm not going to introduce everything about it, is y equals mx plus b, and you're going to see a lot of this within we're going to explain each one of these within the context of each variable as we go through. So the first one we're going to highlight is the slope, which is the m of our formula, the m. So whenever you see m for now on, you might as well think formula for slope, okay? So what is slope? Slope is a non-vertical line, hence that little word again, okay? A non-vertical line that is, we're used to saying it as the rise and run. I want you to take special note of all the ways that you're going to see slope. So if there's an important fact to copy down, it's this right here, is the slope is equal to m, which is also rise over run, which is change in y over change in x, which is also y sub 2 minus y sub 1, all divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay? And there's even a little graph over here on the side that gives you a good visual example. Okay? So the same way you did slopes back in, say, 7th grade, when you just had to do, okay, go up and over or left and down, whatever the case may be. Okay? It's the same way. We just have to use it a little bit differently as we get bigger and larger numbers and as we introduce fractions and decimals within the slope. Okay? My advice to you with slopes is to just make sure you use the formula. Okay? If you use the formula, it kind of works its way out. All right? So let's look at some other things we want to make sure we copy down and do. So the first one is example number 1 related to slope. Okay, describe the slope of the line. Now, when you're given a visual, it's a whole lot easier. Okay, notice in this one, the rise over run, the most popular one for when you're first learning slope. The vertical change between these 2 points is 4 and this is total 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. 6 total. So its slope is going to be 4 over 6, which needs to be simplified to 2/3. Now, the cool fact about slope is the slope is the rise and run between any 2 points on the line. Now, they designated these 2 points on this problem, but you can pick any point on the line. Like, for instance, this point is definitely a good one because it intersects perfect on the grid. This one's good because it's on the grid also, but look at point 0, 0. Isn't that a perfectly intersect line right there on that origin there? Well, you don't have to do always what they give you. You can always do rise up 2 and run 3. It's any point on the line you can do the slope. Okay, so if you're not given any specific points, you can just find points on the line that intersect perfectly the whole number. You don't have to worry about doing like a fraction or decimal or anything of that such. Okay, over on letter B, the change in these 2 points. Now, you don't have to do exactly what they did here. Notice that they went, the run part is right 2, and then they went down -3. So rise, the vertical change is -3 over a +2, which means the slope of -3 over 2. Sometimes you'll see it as a decimal to -1.5. That's okay. It can be a fraction, as an improper fraction, or it needs to be a decimal. Okay, it could be a whole number too. It's not, you can have those. But don't change it to a mixed number. That's something that people do. You're just going to end up having to go back and change it back to something else later. Okay. To show you a different direction, what if you started with this point first? Okay. Could I have gone up 3? Could I do that? Up 3 and then left 2. Which left is which direction? Negative or positive? -2. I could have said 3 over -2. Is this the same as this? Yeah. Well, think about your division of integers. A negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative. So it doesn't matter which direction you go. Just make sure you understand that up and right are positive, and left and down are negative movements. Okay, those are the 2 biggies there. All right. We got next one. All right. Example 2. So this is the case where I said you're not always going to get a visual. Sometimes they're just going to give you a table. Okay. So in letter A, they give you a bunch of points, and they're asking you to find the slope of each line from the table. What is the slope of each line? So according to each table, they're telling you that these points are on the line. So they all make a line. So the first thing we want to do is do the slope. Well, what is slope? Slope is the change of the y's and the change in the x's. Does it matter if all these points are on this line? Does it matter which set of points I choose? Now, so personally, I always like to do the smallest number. So personally, that's what I would end up doing. Okay? Does it matter which one I call point 1 and which one's point 2? Does it matter? No. You can try it both ways. I promise it works each way. So what is the y of the second point that I chose? It is a 2 minus, always use your signs, minus y of the first one, which is 8. That is your numerator. Then you have the bottom number, which is the x of the second point, which is 13, minus x of the first, which is 10. Okay, so now go and solve and simplify. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. 13 minus 10 is 3. We have negative 6 over 3. Can that be simplified? It's going to be a negative 2. Very good. So that's kind of how you find your slope as you go through. So if you're given points, can you find the slope? Yeah. How many points do you need? Just 2. Okay. So I'm not going to do any more of the other ones. These are the same exact steps as you go through. Let me highlight actually B and C. I'll hit the key and I want you to notice something. First of all, what do you notice about B? What's unique about B compared to A? All the same Y. So what would that do in your problem? What do you think that would end up doing? So if your Y's are going to be 2 minus 2, right? Let's say you use these two, right? 2 minus 2 on the top, and your X would be, what? We'll say this is 2, this is 1. 5 minus 3. 2 minus 2 is 0 over 2. What's the slope of this line? Okay, 0. It's flat. Think of 0 slope. The ground is 0 slope, which makes sense because if I said graph y equals 2, okay, if I said graph y equals 2, wouldn't you make a horizontal line where all the 2's are at? Okay. Now look at letter C. What's the repeating one on this one? The x's. So let me use small numbers. Use this one and this one here. If I say this is point 2, this is point 1, okay, there's your formula. Go through here. So the y the second one is 0, minus y the first is negative 3, all over x sub 2, which is negative 3, minus x sub 1, negative 3. When we solve this, minus the negative 3 is positive 3 on the numerator. What's negative 3 minus a negative? Which this minus a negative should be a plus, a 0. What is this slope? Special name, it's not 0. It's called, I heard it. Okay, undefined slope. It goes up forever. Think about undefined, rise, no run. This keeps going up. Okay. Okay, it's an undefined slope. It goes on forever. So there's a difference between 0. 0 is what? A horizontal line. The ground, 0 slope. If it goes up forever, has no angle to it, it's undefined.
Wait, so the B would be what? Is B?
B, what about B? Oh, B is 0. This one's 0. B is 0 slope. Okay, the M would be 0. Okay. As for some other critical things within the notes, okay, when we read slopes, we always read them left to right, just like reading a textbook or a book in general. So if it's increasing left to right, it's a positive slope, whereas if it's going down left to right, we would know we should be getting a negative slope. Okay, the overall number. Slope of 0, like we just said, is a horizontal line. Undefined is going to be a vertical line there. Okay, definitely something important there. I'm sorry? It's vertical, yeah, it's a vertical line. Okay. Last but not least is the actual form itself. Okay, from this, we already talked about slope and where M is. The B, the y-intercept, is what we talked about yesterday and where it crosses the y-axis. So if you see plus 3, that line is going to cross at a positive 3. If you see negative 2 here, minus 2, it's going to cross down here at negative 2. That's going to be your telltale starting point whenever you're graphing later on. The y's and the x's are points you put in later to see if a certain point, like remember how we checked on standard form? We checked x and y's and see where they, if that point would work, like how many vans and cars earlier today. Okay, that's what those are for plug-in later. All right. All right, find the slope and y-intercept. So just looking at the form, what's the slope of letter A? Again, use your form, y equals mx plus b. What's the slope?
Slope is 4.
M is equal to 3. The y-intercept b is negative 4. Letter B, what's the slope? Give me a hint. If you don't see anything, it's
Zero.
0. Okay. And what's the y-intercept? 6.5, which makes sense. It's going to be a horizontal line at 6.5. Okay. This one, is that slope-intercept form? No, but we can change it by adding 5x to both sides. So I have negative y equals 5x minus 2. Now is that slope-intercept form? You need to get the y by itself. How do I get rid of that 1 in front of there? If you multiply or divide, you need to do it to everything. Everything must get it. So now it becomes y equals negative 5x plus 2. Now what's the slope? Negative 5, y-intercept is 2. That's it for today.
Here we go.